schon nervös, wenn man kein Gegenüber hat. Good evening, everyone. You were just listening to the first chunk of the so-called Grosse Fuge, one of the most complicated yet rewarding pieces Ludwig van Beethoven wrote. My name is Oliver Wille. I'm a member of the Kuss Quartett, and we have the pleasure to present the next 4 Wednesday 7 p.m. live episodes on Adagio. And we will deal in different ways with Beethoven String Quartets, the Bible for every quartet player. My idea was to take you on some kind of speed date, rushing through this amazing universe, showing special musical situations. Because what I love about Beethoven is that he, like no one before, managed to capture human psychology. Let's see if I can share my passion with you in 20 minutes. Beethoven's teacher was the famous Papa Haydn, Joseph Haydn, the father of string quartets, and he wrote 80 quartets. You probably know this one. The beginning of the beautiful slow movement of Opus 76, number 3, what later became the national anthem of Germany. His first ever published piece was already a string quartet, Opus 1, number 1. Listen to that one, Haydn, Opus 1, number 1. We call it the hunt, a very joyful, lively melody going up in all instruments, a virtuous and confident start. Beethoven, he wrote 16 string quartets, and his first one he started when he was already 28. Not so young. Listen to his first music he wrote for string quartet. He starts with a solo question. The first violin starts, and then the quartet enters to establish the home key D major. Everything what's needed is already there, but you have the feeling that he is only touching the music as if he starts with a doubt. But he can also do differently. Listen to this one. What a drama. The C minor quartet, opus 18, number 4, beginning of it. He starts with the lowest possible note in the violin, the open G string, and he goes all the way up, high register. You have this impatient middle voices supporting the character. What you just heard at the end was a confident statement of pure chords, no connection in between. Maybe you remember this, yum, 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 as if he wants to show North and South Pole at the same time. The most basic harmonies, C minor, our home, and the fifth step, G major, next to each other, fortissimo, hacking through the piece. Let me show a third way of this early string quartets. One of my favorite places, the last movement, beginning of the last movement of opus 18, number 6. The name is La Malincolia, a melancholic voice, maybe some depression, doubt again, as if there are rich contents flying around, but they don't fit together yet. What an amazing idea to show what music can do with us. Listen to this. You have the slow music, very easy rhythms, but the harmony doesn't fit together. This is what he does, and it already sounds basically like a late modern work. After that, for 10 years, Beethoven did not write string quartets. Opus 18 was considered the climax of classical style. Perfection in melody, harmony, in rhythmic structure and periodical system. What's next? Well, he reinvented the quartets, just like a good composer does. Pieces suddenly get twice as long, and he starts to write a group of 3 pieces, the so-called Razumovsky quartets, opus 59. In the first one, he starts with the cello melody, very unusual. The cello is passing it to the first, as if the cellist wants to reach out their hands to grab together something huge. Let's hear. We could hear them again, these knocking, impatient, building up 8 notes of the Waldstein Sonata, giving energy to help the melody flying, collecting strength. This is something I think nobody could do as well and audible as Beethoven. Let's jump to another Razumovsky quartet, number 3, opus 59, number 3. And let's hear this theme in C major, joyful, cheerful forte plays. You can listen to the 8 notes I just showed, giving the pulse, and in the repeat of them, the music gets even more busy and energetic. If I want to compose long, I need contrast. Franz Schubert wrote, and also Beethoven knows that. He knows that he has to shake us up, that we listen. I want to show you something or mention something different. Somehow we human beings are square, and we feel comfortable if we have numbers of 4 and 8. Therefore, a regular melody is usually 4 or 8 bars long. Listen to the quick march of the last movement, Presto, Opus 59, number 2. It comes very lively and exciting again, but there's something wrong here. Let me show you. While the music is going on, I will count the number of bars. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 1, 2. Very simple trick, but something what he has to continue to write, and the piece becomes long. The shortest piece he wrote for quartet is Opus 95, Quartetto Serioso, in neighborhood of Goethe's Egmont. After a lot of drama, the piece is not so short because he has no ideas, but he experiments to start to write something without any transitions. Everything is put into a time frame of 20 minutes. Towards the end of the piece, Beethoven stops the music. Just like our life sometimes gets stuck. And instead of crying or being depressed, you say, it doesn't matter, it's not so important. Let's look at the bright side of life, because life can be so beautiful. In 1825, Beethoven was very ill. He had to stay in bed for a long time. After he overcame the illness, he wrote one of the most beautiful movements ever, the Heilige Dankesang an die Gottheit, the Holy Thanksgiving. A slow, intimate chorale, very inside. In the middle section, there comes a passage where he writes, feeling new strength. Interesting psychological moment. Imagine after 4 weeks of lockdown, you go outside, you feel more strength than you actually maybe have, and you jump around. Let me touch another subject. Different playing techniques, because Beethoven was the first one who used one of those for string players. Usually we try to play with a beautiful sound, with a core and vibration to the sound. Somewhere, if you imagine the violin, there's this wooden thing called the bridge and the fingerboard somewhere in the middle. Going close to the bridge, you will get a lot of s in the sound, some kind of edgy business called sul ponticello. And what happens if this is used in a piece for the first time? From easy listening with a swing, you suddenly watch from outside. You get objective. You change perspective. An interesting idea. Listen to Beethoven Opus 131, Presto, this Ponticello plays. The late Beethoven, confusing the music world still today. Some musicologists talk about using fragments, craziness because he was deaf, discomfort. I believe he was the composer who reinvented himself all the time. Playing the whole Beethoven cycle, and we had the pleasure to play and record it last year in Japan's Suntory Hall, I had the feeling throughout the journey I meet different composers. That's amazing. Let me show you in the last Beethoven example something else. Beethoven is using in the opening of Opus 135 a very beautiful, easy listening tune, but he divides it, and he uses an instrument with 16 strings. He passes on the melody, but it's a new way of continuity, not fragments. Could you hear the different instruments playing the same melody? I think that's also the first time that happens in music history. Before I say goodbye, I want to thank Eric, who's in the background and who was a true virtuoso dealing with all these little clips in such a way, in such a quick way. I had a lot of fun taking this journey and listening through all the different recordings on Adagio, so I highly recommend that. I want to stop or to finish with something very different, still Beethoven. In the last 2 months, the Kuss Quartett was teaming up with a wonderful company in Berlin called Nico and the Navigators. They are performers, dancers, singers, actors. And we planned a big project called Force and Freedom. Actually, 2 words would contain the Grosse Fuge I mentioned in the beginning. And this project was a kind of staged concert, a theater project. We rehearsed for a long time and we were supposed to premiere it in 2 days at the Schwetzinger Festspiele. Obviously, this is not happening, but we still wanted to be creative. And we turned this thing into a video thing, a video project, a digital crisis diary. 1 clip per day, 1 minute long. You can find them on Facebook. And on Friday, 1st of May, this project will turn into a memory game. Maybe you want to join us and play. Thank you and goodbye.
Die Musik muss dem Manne Feuer aus dem Geist schlagen.